Welcome back to Betoota Talks. It's an exciting time of the year. It is. Footy finals. We've recorded this a bit before we know who's in the grand final, but things are feeling pretty good for Brisbane. And as we talk, Raiders are still top of the table. There's a lot going on. We're kind of settled down from the election news cycle, Wendell.
Yeah, we have. There's obviously a bit of other stuff going on, but we don't need to touch on that too much as far as we're concerned. Footy finals, we're into that, and then
things have been pretty calm.
Season's just around the corner.
Things have been pretty calm geopolitically, I think.
Yep. Yeah. Melbourne Cup, which is obviously the marker of the silly seasons, not too far away realistically, and actually got a pretty apt guest in that regards.
Yeah. Yes. We've got. What would you say? A institution of horse racing in Australia.
Wow.
But many other things as well. We're very, very excited to discuss the life and times of one of Queensland's greatest exports, Sandra Sully. Thank you for joining us.
G'day, guys. Thanks for having me.
Now, you started your career as a beat journalist, a field reporter. How would you describe the start of your career? Completely
by accident.
Yeah, right.
Right. So I was working in health and fitness in Brisbane, running gyms and taking exercise classes, and a running club down in the Botanical Gardens opposite the Park Royal there.
Before run clubs were a proper thing?
Yeah.
Right.
And I'd started a Bachelor of Business by correspondence, which was, I was hopeless at. And a lady in my running club worked at Channel 7, and there were 5 gym centres that I, kind of managed, I suppose. Lots of classes, lots of instructors, lots of,
Was this in the era of Fizzy?
What's Fizzy?
Fizzy, was that, what was the brand? Like it wasn't
after
Zumba.
Olivia Newton-John, you mean? After the
aerobic.
Yeah, the aerobic era.
Yeah, okay.
And I really loved it, but we had 5 gyms, 125 classes, 25 instructors a week. It was full on. And I'm an organised person. And she said, there's a unit manager's job going at Channel 7. You should go for it. And she was leaving to set up Expo and run all the entertainment at South Bank before South Bank was a thing. And I said, no, I want to work with you because I just think that'll be fun and interesting. And I realised that health and fitness was a hobby, probably not a career. And cut a long story short, I went for the interview and got the job and was unit manager for a current affairs show up there.
Really?
And then that was when Christopher Skase took over, 7 Network. And
exciting times.
Then it was April Fool's Day and we got a phone call. I was running the office. I was putting makeup on the main act, the presenters, and rolling auto cue and writing scripts.
Kay McGrath, was she around then?
She was at 10 then, which was Channel O then. It was Glenn Taylor. I used to call him Gladys. And Mike Higgins.
Yeah.
Face of Brisbane at the time.
The moustache.
Yeah. And April Fool's Day, and the show got the axe, and everyone thought it was a joke.
Oh, yeah.
Because Higgins was going to Channel O, Channel 10, and they were going to an hour. And the networks panicked. They axed our show. They expanded Channel 7's 6 o'clock news to an hour. And as a production unit manager, I got absorbed into the newsroom. And then I was offered a cadetships, and then I swapped my degree to journalism, and that's kind of how it happened. It was a complete accident.
Did you have any media in the family, or was it just something that you followed?
Kind of it's a very unique story in the sense that I haven't heard anyone before this conversation. I've never heard of anyone getting into media effectively through entrepreneurialism. Like you were.
Well, look, Maxine McHugh started as a DA.
Yeah.
Ray Martin started in the mailroom.
Yep.
Lee Sales started, I think, as a production assistant or a director's assistant, a DA they called it then. Half these positions don't exist anymore. Yeah. I always say to young journalism students, get a job where you want to work, doing anything.
Yeah.
And then learn the ropes, meet the people, show you're a team player, and you'll be given a chance. Because half the time it's about, your work ethic, your value system and whether you're a team player.
Yeah.
Media is the ultimate team game. Whether you're in radio, newspapers or TV, it doesn't really matter. You've got to get on with people and you've got to work well with the team. So any foot in the door is the way to start.
Do you think your background in sport, I mean, I know you're a serious hockey player and still to this day.
Oh, no, I was average. But I loved it.
A committed hockey player.
Yeah.
And still a staunch advocate for hockey to this day. And you said your brother played pretty serious rugby league. Do you think that helped you getting into media, just knowing in terms of that team aspect?
No, not really.
No.
Well, it did so far as I always played team sports.
Yeah.
I swam. I kind of played everything I could, really. I just loved sport. I think it helped me. I think it helped me engage with more people. I think if you enjoy sport, it's such an easy conversation because it's not politics and it's not religion. They're the polarizing subjects, whereas sport, you can find common ground with just about everyone somewhere.
Yeah, and that I'm sure that helped you move from Queensland to Sydney. You're still talking about the same footy code.
Yeah, well, I went via Canberra actually,
Yeah, okay.
But I did put my hand up a lot to do sporting stories. And funnily enough, the first job in Canberra when I got a job in the bureau, I was working for Prime. So I'll take you back to when aggregation started. Is that a word you're familiar with? And that's when, the federal government decided that regional Australia needed the same TV choices as mainstream. And so there were hundreds of newsrooms that popped up around the country because, Wagga Wagga, Canberra, Timbuktu, everyone got access to 7, 9 and 10 and all these baby newsrooms popped up everywhere and there was an explosion of job opportunities. So Canberra got self-government that year. I think it was 1989 or something. And I was, just a cub reporter, but they got self-government and they got brand new TV stations. So I put my hand up and I got a grading. I think it was a D grade journalist. I think I got a C grade and put my hand up to cover the local round, a brand new political round. And I don't know if you remember, it was probably before you were born, but that first year in Canberra, local Canberra politics, they had a 3-metre ballot paper. It was ridiculous.
There was a lot of journalists and a lot of politicians.
Yeah, exactly. But look, and then a year later I was basically because I didn't come with removal expenses, 10 went through a massive upheaval and I got cherry-picked to join the Canberra Bureau for 10, but I didn't come with removal expenses, right? So I was cheap.
Yes.
But the first job I did in Canberra was Marnica Oval and the Prime Minister's 11.
Yes, all right.
And I went, I don't know much about cricket. But, when I finally got to Sydney, I was always putting my hand up to do whatever I could in sport. And I went to the Atlanta Games as a news journalist, but really to cover the Olympics. So that was a thrill for me.
Was presenting always the goal for you? Or was it something that you kind of moved into through your career?
Never.
Never, yeah. Okay.
No. Look, I realised when I started, and we've had this conversation, Clancy, when I was a cub journo in Brisbane, I was accompanying the local political reporter and I was going down to sit with him at State Parley.
Yeah.
And that's when, Joe famously said, we're feeding the chooks.
You were one of the chooks.
Yeah, and I really wasn't an official journalist. I was still, learning the ropes big time.
Is that a baptism of fire in a sense that you're in Queensland's becoming, when you were first cutting your teeth, Queensland's for the first time really becoming a big city. You've got Expo going on. You've got a corruption scandal plaguing the state government that only big cities could get, really. It was... or maybe it was just a clunky transition between being a country town council and becoming a state government.
I think Brisbane will always have that big country town feel about it. It's a big part of its charm.
Yeah.
But it got national headlines. Yeah. And, when you take down the police commissioner and jail him, that's a big deal. It dominated the press. And I was asked to assist the journo covering the Fitzgerald inquiry and just basically be the dog's body. Again, a team player, what can I do? Yeah. And to sit there and witness that every day and, how the journos were approaching it. And, the headlines every day. But what most people in the room didn't realise, it was kind of personal for me insofar as the police commissioner was my high school best friend's father.
Terry? Really?
Yeah.
So you'd gone to dinner in that house in Barden?
Yeah.
Really?
So I sat there and realised, that's when I fell in love with journalism. I realised that you can be accountable and they will put you away. It does matter. Good journalism matters. And you must make people accountable for their actions. And to sit there and see the police commissioner sent to jail was profound for me because it made such a difference. And I realised it's a fun, for me, I'm passionate about journalism and I understand and respect it's a robust, it's a really strong foundation in a robust democracy. And a lot of people just take it for granted because they think, oh yeah, we've got to vote. Do we have to vote really? It's a sausage sizzle. It's like, no, the right to vote is such a gift and an honour and a privilege and you can't dismiss it and you should cherish it and it means a lot. And you need to know what's going on in your community because it dictates the way you live, what you're prepared to put up with. So, my early days was seeing the head of police being taken down week after week after week and then eventually jailed.
Yeah.
Who was my best friend's father.
What a start to a career.
Well, it just,
What was it like seeing, did you ever make eye contact with Terry Lewis in the courtroom?
No.
Nah.
He didn't really look at many journalists.
Interesting you're talking about democracy is something that a lot of people here take for granted. And you hear stories of, people who've recently come to Australia who talk about them or their family members, guarding ballot boxes with a gun to try and ensure that they can have a democratic election. And they fought so hard to have their say. It feels like we as a nation have also taken information and news and journalism a little bit for granted. Even 15, 20 years ago, it was a ritual for a lot of people to sit down and whether it was the 10 o'clock news, the 7 o'clock news, the Channel 10 news, the Channel 9 news, the Channel 7 news or ABC news, whatever it was or whatever you wanted, some people would do too. But it was a ritual for so many people to do that. Whereas I now feel like younger generations, that isn't the case. The news isn't on every night in the background. It might be what they get from social media or they may go and check a news site or a news app. I know the ABC app is very, very popular amongst young people, but it feels like it's fallen away for generations coming through. Do you see a way back for that to kind of install these nightly news coverages as like a tentpole for people?
Well, interestingly, the nightly news numbers are up across the board. We're not really sure what's driving that. I was just at the Free TV event in Canberra where all the main networks were lobbying for better support. And look, over the years, television networks have been millionaires and billionaires' fiefdoms, but not anymore. They're publicly listed companies predominantly, even though, I work at 10 and that's listed company in America. The financial model is challenged like never before.
Yeah.
And what's happened in that same sort of 2-decade window is you've had the emergence of social media. You've had the technological revolution, not an evolution, but a revolution where you don't need to sit down and watch TV as a group. You can watch it on any device, anywhere, anytime, on demand. And a lot of, one or say the last 2 generations have disappeared down rabbit holes of being fed by algorithms, misinformation, and that's being empowered by certain political figures who like to continue to amplify the perception of fake news. And so it's engendered this generation of mistrust. There is a way back, but I don't think it's going to be easy. And we just got to continue to support, I would say, free to air, and that includes what everyone already pays for, ABC, SBS, even if you don't like 7, 9 and 10. And none of us get it right all the time. But at the Free TV event, it was impressive, and I'm not being partisan here. We had all sides of politics. But the PM did get up and make the point that you've got generations down rabbit holes being fed an algorithm of misinformation, and they never put their head up above the parapet and know where they can find something that they can rely on. And he made the point really that the free-to-airs, there's essentially a standard of professionalism where it won't be perfect, but, you know, the bar is raised to a level of fact-checking, and most information, if it's editorial, it's stated as an opinion. Otherwise, the fact is the fact.
Yeah.
You know, and if you get it wrong, you've got to make a correction.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
And I don't know how we win back the trust of a couple of generations other than maintaining the rage, you know, and that's what you have to keep doing.
But there is a story's going to cut through. It doesn't matter how cluttered the landscape is. Like the mushroom trial this year. I mean, obviously there's an eccentricity to it, we were talking about it the other day. It reminded Australia of the Chamberlains out in Uluru. You know, something where everyone's glued into is always going to be there, and they're going to go to the news for that. They're not going to go to the algorithm for that.
But look at COVID. You know, we were considered an essential service. You know, I went into work every day, didn't miss a beat for those 2 years, and I was grateful for the opportunity and the privilege of doing that. But the news viewing habits skyrocketed because people knew every day that's where they would get the latest numbers, what they needed to know, how to deal with the next day and what the new rules were. But coupled with that has been this glorious explosion, and not just because we're here doing a podcast, but I've been a fan of podcasts since I was working on late news because it didn't exist then. It was really just world radio. Tune in, I would go to bed listening to the BBC. But now, you know, I'm wedded to the rest is politics, the rest is money, the rest is espionage, you know, that whole genre where you've got, where if you, you know, not necessarily do your homework, but you seek out balanced views, and you've got you know, the rest is politics. The one based in the US is, you've got
Scaramucci.
The Mooch.
No, well, that's the American version with Caddy K, but the English version was Blair's head of comms, and then you've got Rory Stewart, the Conservative, but they respectfully discuss topics in a really engaging way, you know? So it's not all bad, it's not all dire, but we've got to just continue to support the really strong aspects of journalism and podcasts. I mean, you've got the families of the mushroom victims saying that, you know, the world press descended on the town and it was uncomfortable for them. But, I mean, it is a story that is extraordinary, and I'm sorry, it was a little bit like Thredbo. Everybody hated the press that were there at the time. I was there when Thredbo happened. And you know how horrible it is for the residents when the press descend en masse. But, you know, nearly 20 people died in an horrendous sequence of events.
And everyone wanted to know more. And
there's an appetite for news.
Do you remember the first time, I mean, aside from the Fitzgerald inquiry, as you said, you weren't really... you were kind of a team player in that, a moving part of the media coverage of that.
I was a puppy.
Do you remember when you were, microphone in hand, do you remember when you went, I think everyone's watching this? With any particular story? I mean, Thredbo could be the one.
Thredbo was galvanising.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, I was there on a holiday.
Yeah, right.
And I was there with Thredbo's staff, having a dinner, and then they came back and we'd actually had a big one. Yeah.
And you had to get to work.
Not knowing. No. And then it's 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning and belting on the door saying, we need your help. And I was there on a holiday with 3 girlfriends, one from 7, one from 9, me from 10.
Right.
The one from 7 was in sales and I was a journo, and clearly I was. And we said, okay, give us 10 minutes. He said, I need you to come with me now. And we walked down the side of Thredbo Village and we just saw collapsed matchsticks. He said, I need you to come with me to the Thredbo manager's office because we think at least 20 of our colleagues are there. And we sat on the floor in the manager's office, and Glenn Milne was from 7 and he'd got out. He said, the media are at Jindabyne, they're coming. Tell me what to do.
Oh, you kind of had to advise Thredbo in a way.
Well, they were in shock.
Yeah.
They didn't know how many staff they'd lost. It was a calamitous moment.
Yeah.
And there was a window of, you know, you guys are experienced in the media. Tell me, how do I manage this? And we said, you've got to let them in. Australia needs to know. I mean, obviously they're going to let in emergency teams. Yeah. But all the media are at Jindabyne at the bottom. I said, you've got to let them in. You know, you just got to manage them when they get here. then we were there for a week until Stuart Diver got out.
Yeah, it was a week of
wall-to-wall coverage
and disaster kind of response. I remember, everyone can remember the images of people just passing, bits of debris down the human chain.
A painstaking chain of rescue. Look, when you say I didn't, Thredbo was just, really hard because the villagers, we knew lots, and they hated us. Yeah. We were intruding on their grief. That's how they saw it. And we tried to corral ourselves out of the mainstream, but we also had to live there. We had to stay in the hotel or a villa or whatever, the chalet somewhere. We had to find somewhere to stay. And that was really awkward, because people would have a few drinks and they would want to have a crack. Yeah. And you knew they were grieving, and I wouldn't say they were out of line, but they were aggressive. Yeah. And you just knew you had to walk away because you're just doing your job, and they don't know if their loved ones are alive or not. But I guess September 11 would be the most galvanising one for me.
Again, on the scene.
Well, in the chair.
Yeah, right.
In the chair.
When do you remember the moment the news came through and they told you the towers have come down? And what happened? Did you just lock in and go?
The moment was a plane had gone into the World Trade Center. Yeah. And the guy that spotted that in our newsroom, Darren Kelleher, is still there. Yeah. We have this thing. And funnily enough, only yesterday, Katie, one of the senior TDs, walked past me and she said, Sandra, there's only you, me, and one other guy here still from September 11. I said, and Darren, he spotted the plane. She said, there's 4 of us. She only raised that with me yesterday because the anniversary is coming up. Yeah. So Darren spotted it, I think, on one of the feeds. And, it was that time of night where half the building was empty. So, I've told this story. I don't want to be boring. But they said to me in my ear, a plane's gone in the World Trade Center. We don't know much about it, but I'm going to go to a break and we'll come back. And I said, well, let's have a look at the pictures. We had a look at the pictures in the break. I said, that's a jetliner. That's not a small plane. Anyway, just went from there. We were the first ones to call it terrorism.
Yeah. And I'm guessing your shift didn't end for a while after that?
No. But I have a unusual story to tell about that morning that not many people know. Yeah. So we were on air for quite a few hours, and, people were – the main producer was running out of the newsroom, just out of the control room behind me, and he just said, just keep talking. The wires were dead. I'm madly writing notes, just taking notes out of, what the feed I'm getting in my ear, and he's calling your troops in, waking our network up. And then it must have been about 3 or 4 in the morning. I'd got off a break. I think we'd taken a slab of CNN or something. And he said, I want you to go home. And I said, we just broke the story. I'm not going home, as if I'm going to go to sleep. Yeah. And he said, no, you're going to be needed for tomorrow. I said, look, I'll do another hour. I'm not going home. Anyway, had a few terse words with the news director, but I said, I got to be gone by 5. And I'm not sure. He said, well, you'll be off air by then. I said, okay, you're the boss. But I'd actually committed to a corporate job in the city weeks before. Oh, no. A major finance company in the city was rolling out their new MD, CEO. And those were the days when you had a Sky Link. What were they called? Remember when everybody tuned in one office and it was done via satellite or something?
Yeah, you zoomed everyone into the one event.
Yeah, but it wasn't called Zoom then. This is over 20 years ago. And I was in Angel Place in downtown City, and I won't name the company, but I got there, and the corporate comms were there, and I said, so do you guys know what happened? Because I knew I couldn't. The boss had said, you've got to go home, you've got to get some sleep. Yeah. We've got the troops in, we're sweet. I said, okay, I've been on for hours. And I'd committed, so I wasn't going to not turn up. And
MC work.
MC, this Sky Satellite introduction of a new CEO for the national headquarters for Australia. Yeah. And I think he was an international appointment. It was a big deal, you know. They'd paid a fortune for this whole thing from Angel Place, and I was to introduce him and then interview him. And I said, you know what's happened? They said, oh, we heard something on the way in. I said, okay, I think you should have a proper look. And they were reluctant to. And then he came in and I said, look, I don't know if you realise what's actually happened, but the world has stopped and no one is going to notice anything you say. Mm. You are going to appear tone deaf and you are going to waste everyone's time. Now, it doesn't matter. It's your career. It's your money. You roll this out, but you are going to look like a first-class roll gold dickhead.
Yeah.
No, and you, all of your staff will wake up to the morning news. International stock markets had frozen. The financial heart of the Western world was under attack. The Pentagon was under attack. Our Prime Minister was burrowed underneath, the Pentagon. The world had frozen. And you think your staff are all going to come in and say, oh, hello, nice to meet you.
You CEO.
And he said, all right, well, maybe give me 10 minutes. And then they cancelled it. Yeah. I said, good call. If you want me tomorrow, I'll do it. But today, no one's listening.
No one's listening. And I need to go home and have a quick nap.
No, I never sent them the invoice. I just went, this is not, I'm doing you a favour. Yeah. Like, I'm happy to do this, but this is really dumb. Yeah. 101 corporate CEO comms, don't do this.
Yeah. Yeah. Just being able to read the room better than this new bloke.
And it was an empty room, right? He was, even in those days, he couldn't see faces. No. Yeah. It was an empty hall at Angel Place, just me and him.
Yeah.
And thank goodness he took my word for it.
Yeah, it's funny. You could see the comms teams would have been so locked in on we've just got to do this, and they would have been preparing for days and days. And there's, to be fair, probably not that many events, well, very few rare events where something like that you just go, no, whatever's happened, call it off. Yeah. We're not doing it.
It had galvanised the world.
Yeah, the whole world. Yeah, as you said, the whole world had come to a stop.
And I often say September 11 was when Australia woke up and realised they are part of the international community. When we could get away with hiding down here.
Yeah, for sure.
We didn't have to really take a lot of notice. But then what happened there did affect us, and from that day forward, we were part of. We accepted that what happened there matters to us.
Especially because the Prime Minister was there. I mean, what a close call there with Howard.
Yeah. We had Deb Knight there, actually. She was working in our Canberra bureau. She's, now at 9. And we had Michelle Stone because the US Open was on at the same time. Yeah. So we had a journo on the ground in New York and we had one with Howard in Washington. So it was a mad scramble.
Yeah. That coverage would have been, I feel, surreal or crazy, but it would have been you would have been running on adrenaline, right? Seeing something that's just so mind-blowing occur in front of you. In terms of the events that are the hardest to cover, is it elections? Is it, Melbourne Cup coverage? You've done a hell of a lot over your career. What are the events that are just so draining and so hard to cover?
Well, they're all a challenge that you want to rise to the occasion for, and that's the great opportunity I've had working at 10. I've had this really broad range. I mean, I was just a deer in the headlights when it came to Spring Carnival. I wasn't brought up around horse racing. I didn't know anything about it. I'd grown up, seeing arguably not Jean Shrimpton in the miniskirt, but Melbourne Cup, Australia stopped. Yeah. I remember in grade 3. Whatever year it was, when the man landed on the moon, you were watching it on the floor of your, Wellers Hill Primary School, and then Melbourne Cup every year, you were wheeled into a hall somewhere and the dividing doors between the classrooms were opened up and you all sat and watched the Melbourne Cup.
The PE teacher was slamming the form guy on the desk.
I remember the box TVs being wheeled into the classroom.
Exactly. So for me to be working on the Spring Carnival, which was a 5-day event, 4 big days. And I was, considered a co-host. I mostly did celebrity interviews, so I was hardly doing the heavy racing. We had, Peter Donegan and a whole team of racing experts. But when you're co-hosting the coverage and trying to pull it together and be that team player and not let the team down, I was shitting bricks, but I love the opportunity, and I got better every year, I think.
Yeah.
But I will sing someone's praises, and I don't think this is broadly recognised, but I know you love your sport and horse racing. But it was a now deceased former executive producer of Channel 10's Sport, a guy called Mike Ordsent, that developed the concept of turning horse racing into a television event.
Right.
He went to the races one day and he timed, an 8 or a 10 race card, and he timed how long it took each segment of the racing. Like, what would be a television event? Was it the jockey's weigh-in? Was it the mounting yard? Was it, each element he timed deliberately and then worked out a television schedule, created a matrix which is now replicated worldwide. Right. He did that at Channel 10. We had it for 23 years.
Australia, we forget how much racing's part of the culture. I mean, we did with Betoota Advocate, we did a little doco series on the Fine Cotton Affair, which I guess might have just been before you got boots on the ground in media. But,
everyone had heard of it. I mean.
But it was like, Eagle Farm in Brisbane was as big as the Kentucky Derby every Saturday.
Every Saturday. But I never went.
Yeah.
And then I go to Flemington.
Yeah.
Derby Day and Cup Day and Oaks Day and Stakes Day.
Yeah.
It was extraordinary. And for the main race, we were out, the nursery used to be a pretty popular place then, but I would race down for the main race. I'd whip the shoes off, put some flats on, and I would stand next to Peter Donegan as they thundered down the track, crossed the line, it came in, and I would be from here to you away while he's interviewing Bart Cummings.
Yeah. So you seem to have an ability to absorb every name you need to learn on this job, right? You've got a Fitzgerald Inquiry. I'm sure you can name a few people from those days.
Maybe. I'm getting old. Things are disappearing.
Did you find yourself kind of absorbing the horses, like, the favourites and that kind of stuff? Did you kind of learn horse racing?
Well, I did a little bit. Yeah. I learned. I always say people like me know a little bit about a lot, but not a lot about a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't appreciate horse racing, and I get a lot of people don't get it and find it can be quite cruel. I don't see that. I didn't. I went there with open eyes, and I was a little bit hesitant to be convinced that it is the sport, I really enjoy and admire. And I learned a lot about racing, and I say to people, if you don't understand racing, it's really, you remember your athletics carnival, there's sprinters and there's stayers. There's those that like the 200, those that like the 400, those that like the 1500, or you're a 100-metre runner. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. It's the same thing. You just got to understand, weight for age and those. And there's a lot of jargon in everything, and I'm not an expert in all the jargon, but I came to really respect the sport of horse racing and what it does for our Australian economy. And I know, a lot of amazing trainers that do nothing more than want to look after their steeds, their horses, and they really care for them. It's not perfect.
Yeah.
There's lots of shonks in every game.
It's coming back, though. That's the one thing people aren't realising now, that everyone's re-emerging post-pandemic. Last year's Melbourne Cup was the biggest since 2016. So that's kind of bucked the trend of this whole nup to the cup. Like, people can have their views and kind of boycott it if they want, but at the end of the day, people want to get out and about, and then they want to go trackside. And
it's a great day's entertainment, and you don't have to, spend the bank. You can just have a fun flutter.
That's why Melbourne Cup Spring Carnival's good like that, because you can just buy
box Quinella, box trifecta, have a bit of fun. You don't need to, empty the bank.
And it's a public holiday down there as well.
Yeah,
for as long as it is, it feels like it's not.
But look, everyone who hates racing will hate me for saying all of that, but I do support racing. It employs a lot of people. I remember going out to Rose Hill every year. I did the slipper. I just went as a fan, and to see the 2-year-olds who don't know which way's up. They're just like toddlers in the playpen. They don't know which way to go. It's so funny. But Lonhro was rolled out one day, and just as a kind of farewell moment. And he walked down basically the race, before they turned around in front of the stands. And this horse was moseying down, and he took the corner and he heard the crowd, and then he's just...
Yeah.
He just loved it. They know. The ones that love to race, they know.
Yeah.
I've seen that. I believe that.
You have an ability to keep it real, Sandra, in the sense that you still very much, the criticism of journalists along with this whole algorithm we're talking about and this kind of, maybe this agenda out there to detach people from the news cycle is that, journalists can often get in their own bubble. But, here you are, you're still talking about, certain days at Rose Hill or, the people you grew up with in Brisbane. Did you, how did you maintain that realness, throughout your career? I know the first time we met, you started talking about the Winfield Cup, as it used to be known, of Queensland Rugby League.
All the networks have got a proud history.
Yeah.
But 10 introduced rugby league coverage. It was the Amco Cup.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Amco, I remember those jerseys.
Yeah, and the same EP Mike Ward sent, who gave me my break in sport at 10. So I'm forever grateful. But I but by talking to him over many years, I discovered what an extraordinary trailblazer he was. So look, I just am who I am. I love what I do, but I don't believe we're important. We're an important cog in our democracy, and we have an important role, but I don't save lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I elevate and I revere those that put their lives on the line to look after us, not just police officers, paramedics, ambos, nurses. We saw that through COVID. And they're my heroes. And it's not superstars. Occasionally, I can't even think when I've been starstruck other than excited to maybe meet John Travolta. But, at the end of the day, we all do the same thing in that small room in every house.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
I love what I do, but I don't believe it's anything more important than, the people that I pay to clean my apartment, the security guards that let me in every day. I'm the daughter of a wharfie. My father would get angry. He would say, I'm a foreman stevedore, Dad, when Sandra, when he was alive. And my mum was a kindergarten assistant. I just think I'm very working class. I'm very proud of seeing people for who they are. I don't really care how much money you've got or what you do.
Has it helped your career, you think, being able to mingle with the knockabout kind of, I guess, the knockabout blokes, the knockabout men and women of Australia?
I don't know how other people see me, but I often say to young journos, it is a genuine privilege for people to let you in their lounge room.
Yep.
And when young journos say, well, what's it like on a death knock or what's it like when you're out on the road? And I said, you cross the picket fence.
Yeah.
You're going to knock on the door. They'll let you in.
Yeah.
They don't have to. They can say, get out. You've got to be respectful. I think that's just such an important part of the gig. So I think people know I genuinely appreciate them tuning in. I'm really proud of our product. We're not perfect, but I know we punch way above our weight every night of the week. We've got a ripping team and we've got a really good product.
Yeah. And your shit.
Well, I try, I try.
So you'd be kind of having, I guess, moved around as well, from Brisbane to Canberra to Sydney. You kind of would have, and in the years you've been doing it now, since pre-internet, we talked about it, there would have been people that you'd bump into again across decades. I imagine Wally Lewis is a good example of that, similar vintage from Brisbane.
Same high school,
Wharfies.
Played against my brother.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's a heap of people like that. Does it feel like there's kind of an alumni of these, I guess people have just kind of, even the Queensland thing. Do you feel that?
Always.
Yeah.
I mean, always. But you can take the girl out of Queensland, but you can never take Queensland out of the girl. No. And I'm that annoying Queenslander in the newsroom come state of origin time. Mm-hmm. But I had when I started, you were never allowed to kind of declare your partisanship really, when it came to sport because you didn't know who you were going to offend. Yeah. But on late news, it was a national program, so I could just openly be a Queenslander. It didn't matter. So then when I started reading New South Wales news, I mean, they try to trick me every year, state of origin scripts. They will they will write in. So, our Blues, they're not mine. They set traps for me every state of origin, every night of the season. It's actually added to a lot of good banter and fun. Where I couldn't just all of a sudden read Sydney News and pretend I was barracking for the Blues.
Yeah.
And then, frankly, I just love rugby league and I love all sport. I don't get to watch as much as I probably should or used to. I grew up on the edge of a footy field from when I was 0 to 13, when I was old enough to say can I stay home this weekend?
What club were your brothers playing for?
East
Tigers
at Langlands, and then my older brother moved to Souths.
Yeah, right.
So he played with Mel Meninga, Gary Belcher under Bobby McCarthy.
What an era.
And then my other brother, he was a very good rugby union player.
Right.
So this high school I went to only played union. So they both lied on Sundays and played league quietly, as did Wally.
Yeah.
And
Wally was a rugby union schoolboys. Yeah.
Yeah. I was at school with him.
Yeah.
He was in between two of my older brothers.
Yeah, right.
Or he was at the same year of the second oldest brother. Yeah. And then he kept playing.
So they played Saturday, Sundays, league
union Saturdays, league Sundays.
Yeah.
But the other brother fell in love with rugby union, and so we're either at Ballymore or Lang Park.
Yeah, right.
It was great. I loved it.
That's so funny to think that you would have then been interviewing Mal Meninga or Wally Lewis 20, 30 years later. Yeah.
But I used to collect the bottles under Johnny Lang's mother's chair when he was the halfback for East and then became the kangaroo halfback. And Des Morris.
Yeah, right.
My brothers started as, I think they call them the midgets, they were 6 or 7 playing at Langlands back in the day. Yeah, wow. And during Super League, which polarises a lot of people, I was once given the Anzac Day jumper. Oh, I just trying to remember what it was. And for the life of me, I can't find it. I had it framed and everything, and I've moved so many times I can't find it. Anyway, rugby league polarises people, but it equally is a great leveler, I think.
Yeah, that's what you're saying. At the start of the interview about the you don't have to talk about politics and religion if you know that someone can talk sport with you. In
Melbourne, it's AFL, and here and north of the border, it's league and union, I think.
Yeah. Well.
Or a bit of hockey if I can.
Who are you keeping your eye on? Do you still watch the game? Do you know? I mean, obviously everyone knows Reece Walsh.
Yeah, what's going on with Reece?
You played a blinder last night.
I know. I didn't get to watch a lot. Reece TV.
That's his YouTube channel, New Media.
What do you think?
You should get
I love him. I reckon it's awesome. I mean, he said last night that the whole thing was blown a bit out of proportion. I tend to agree with him. Given some of the things that happen in the game of rugby league, Reece, drinking toilet water of a toilet that he installed, it's a bit of a
He clarified that last night because we made the joke on Betoota that maybe the plumber christened it, Reece. Maybe it wasn't brand new.
Maybe you should have questioned it before you willingly drank. But he's a superstar. I love watching him play.
He said in the interview last night, he said, me and my brothers put that toilet in. So,
yeah. And he loves playing the villain role to other fans, which I think the game needs and respect.
Pretty boys have to be villains.
Yeah,
they can't be good guys because they're going to get targeted, and that's what that Origin hit was. It was all of New South Wales were cheering because the pretty boy got.
Do you know what I love about Origin every year is New South Wales walk straight into the trap every year. What was it this year? They decided to call. Remember that cheap shot about someone being a dog or something?
Oh, Grub. Yeah.
A Grub.
Yeah, Aaron Woods.
Yeah. No, call Billy, the world's nicest man. Okay, how do you get the back up of all of Queensland just like that?
Yeah, how dare you?
But just 101. You'd think New South Wales would realise you just need to keep your mouth shut, head down, focus on the job. Don't get swayed by bravado or silly games, which they did to themselves.
I feel like it's the playing group are pretty good with it, but then it's the former players who get addicted to the sound bites and the news cycle. Gallen there with the worst Queensland team, worst Origin team in history or whatever, which you just knew straight away was going up in the dressing sheds and came back to bite New South Wales.
Are you a Blue?
Unfortunately, yes.
No, but look, State of Origin saved rugby league.
Yeah.
It saved it. I love it every year. Of course, I always want Queensland to win. I just want a great game. I want a great series. I want best of 3. I never want it over in 2. I want best of 3.
Yeah.
Get down to the wire. Yeah. And, you know, half of Australia tune in, lift up, take a side, get involved. You know, no one dies. No one really gets hurt. Just good, honest jousting and fun.
Matildas was an interesting one because it was almost like an origin for the whole country. It wasn't, you know, and we get that with the cricket when the boys are really cooking, everyone will tune in. But the Matildas was the one where everyone, I mean,
it was brilliant.
It broke the numbers, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I kind of want to talk about, you know, your love of hockey and what your relationship is now with Hockey Australia.
Look, I was on the board for 10 years and VP for the last couple. I'm now on the board of Hockey One, and I've just been appointed to the Oceania League, which is part of the FIH, the international body. And we're, you know, remember soccer used to be in certain continents have to qualify, and we're in the Oceania area. So we've got Hockey One League starting soon, which happens at the end of the Rugby League AFL season and before cricket and tennis. So it's a 7-week window. It's a broadcast competition, and it's 7 teams, franchises really. So Brisbane Blaze, New South Wales Pride, play Canberra Chill, Adelaide Fire, WA Thundersticks. And, you know, we've got an appointment in the calendar for 7 weeks, and we try to create those pathways from clubland. So, you know, if you played hockey in Queensland, you're going to barrack for your Brisbane Blaze players, men and women. We're one of the few sports that are dual gender and play on the same card back-to-back, same day. And often the men are the curtain raiser to the women.
Yeah.
But not always. We try and flip it all the time.
Have they got a city cat with the logo on it yet?
No, we don't.
That's the next play for the Brisbane Blaze.
We've got to get there, haven't we? So at the moment, Oceania, World Cup qualifiers are happening in Darwin. But in those teams are Australia's best. So the Kookaburras, and I get it because I follow it, but the Kookaburras is the men's hockey team and the Hockeyroos is the women's hockey team. Yeah. And, there's a lot of trading that goes on between those franchises to get, to win the Hockey One Cup. They want to win it. So it's been a big trading period at the moment between all the teams, and it starts on October 10. So we're looking forward to a really, really good season. It's only been enacted. I think this is our 4th year. We were interrupted for a couple of years with COVID. But look, why I love hockey is it's a good team sport. Australians are really good at it.
It's a sleeper, isn't it? It's like we probably don't give them the raps that they deserve, the hockey players, because if you go to a hockey town, and there's plenty of them, we've written about this in Betoota, Rockhampton, Goulburn. There's these mad towns where that's what's going on.
Regional Australia hockey is huge.
Yeah.
And we've always punched above our weight internationally.
Yeah.
We were top 2, now we're in the top 4 or 5 men and women globally. The problem was people only remembered the teams come Olympics or Com Games, which is why we created Hockey One. So every year you can see the best players go head-to-head through a local, a city franchise that's connected to, the pathways are connected to clubland and school hockey. Yeah. And all that sort of stuff.
Who's behind Hockey One? There's government funding and there's backers, or what's the
it was created by Hockey Australia.
Yeah, okay.
But we're an independent board, so really we're a federated sport, and without boring you with the minutiae, federated sports are the hardest to govern because it's a decision by committee. Yeah. Every state has a say. Yeah. There's a governing body, but everyone has a say. So
you don't have a czar sitting above it like Peter V'landys who just goes,
we're changing the rule.
Well, I mean, that's why, for example, in New South Wales, Rose Hill and Randwick merged so that they could tackle Melbourne racing as one voice.
Yeah. Yeah, so you've got this. Yeah, I guess every decision you make. So Hockey One would have been a big achievement for the committee.
It took us 5 to 7 years to get Hockey One off the ground. Yeah. And the MAs, the member associations, which means each state and territory. Yeah. NT isn't in it at the moment, but they'll get there. They have a pretty strong seat at the table. Yeah, and that's when they can sort of push back at Hockey Australia and say, well, you run the sport from juniors, school sport, hook into hockey, pathways, clubland, elite, Com Games, Olympics. but we're going to do the rah-rah at a state level and create those heroes
the buzz and the
on an
excitement.
annual basis, you know.
Wow.
But just sorry if I could use this moment. I had a fascinating story with a guy the other night in Canberra who works in advertising, and the power of storytelling, the power of really good storytelling. Through Paramount, he'd been given an insight to an advertising conference somewhere, and you could have picked a number of sessions to go to, and he chose to go to a session by the woman behind Bend It Like Beckham.
Yeah, right. What a movie.
And, well, we all remember, Keira Knightley and, you know. But he said, and I hope I've got the numbers right, he said before that movie there were 2,000 young girls in England playing soccer.
Really?
After that movie, 190,000. Didn't just empower young girls to get fit and healthy and play soccer. It created jobs, industries, advertising opportunities. Like, the power of a really strong story has just the most profound effect.
Yeah.
You know, what I love about hockey is the dual gender nature.
Yeah.
You know, as I said, on any given day, the men and women are playing on the same card, same day, same oval.
Yeah.
They're not out the back.
Yeah. Go the Blaze was all I got to say.
Go the Blaze. Well, I can't declare any personal passion.
I love about the NRLW, it's going from strength to strength now.
How good.
Yeah.
Sorry, AFL women, they've got a way to go. Expanded too quickly in my view.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rugby league women, it's almost better than watching the rugby league men.
Yeah, I feel it's slightly less structured and it's a little bit
more free flowing.
It's more free flowing and it's more exciting, and the numbers are there. Like we've spoken about on the podcast before, State of Origin, Newcastle, pouring rain, the stadium will pack out, and the standard's incredible, and it's just going.
That State of Origin for the women,
for the women,
extraordinary. I think that'll be, if I was, Peter V'landys, I think that is export material on a global.
I also think they need their own broadcast deal. That would be.
I think as a broadcast product, it is gold because their skill set is so good.
Yeah.
Free to air is so important for it as well. Yeah. Pretty much every game's on free to air.
But that's what was interesting with the free TV thing the other night. You know, is such a significant part of our culture is being able to not necessarily the gambling side of it, but being able to sit at home and watch on free to air, whatever your favourite thing is, to be able to see it. I mean, you look at what happened to the Big Bash. As soon as they went behind a paywall, now they're trying to sell it.
Yeah.
Because people can't afford to pay.
But it's also there's this whole other aspect to the culture that I think free to air TV, really shouldered for a long time, and it was. Immigrants for years, they just turn on the telly and then they're kind of clued in to what everyone else is around them is doing. So with a fractured landscape, it's kind of hard to know that your local football team is the Parramatta Eels or your local whatever if you're not kind of taking in the same kind of, culture as everyone else. And that's what we love about, free-to-air television.
Yeah, look, we're clearly, committed. I think it's just so important because you can rely on a standard of quality reporting. As I said, it's not perfect, but 364 days out of 365, they're going to get it pretty right.
And they're accountable.
Absolutely. We just need more support.
Yes. Well, you got our support, Sandra.
Hey, thanks, guys, for having me on.
Yeah,
thank
you
Sandra.
for joining us. It was a great yarn, and we could have been here for hours, but we'll have to do it another time.
Hope so.